Hello, welcome to episode 9 of the No Excuses podcast. My name's Anne and I live in Worcestershire in the middle of England with my hubby and our dog. Welcome back. It's a lovely sunny day here. It's bitterly cold outside and just after we'd hung the washing out it started snowing. You know, we're getting really strange weather. I know Anita from Jo.Knit.Sew put a picture on Instagram this morning of her car with a light covering her snow in a garden in Cardiff. And I'm like, you know, or near Cardiff, in South Wales. And that's not that far from me, really, geographically, about 120 miles maybe. And then we had a tiny flurry of snow about an hour ago. And yet, on Sunday, I was sat outside in the garden at my parents'. And anyway, this is why, as Anita said, why us British get obsessed with the weather. Because you never know. It doesn't matter what the weatherman says. It isn't always the case. Okay, let's get down to business. Now, I did record this yesterday, and I made such a mess of it that I've come back today to have another go at it. So I've written some notes this time because yesterday I was jumping all over the place in my eagerness to talk to you. And it's true, I like talking to you. I do feel like I'm talking to somebody now and not just a camera. I'm getting used to it. Just like, you know, a BBC reporter. Anyway, as I said, my name is Anne and I am spaknits on Instagram and Ravelry. And I have an email address of spaknitsandcrafts@gmail.com. And I will put all that down in the description section below, along with anything I talk about. I tend to watch it through afterwards when I'm editing and make a note of anything that I haven't already written down to talk to you about. So hopefully, if there's anything I miss, please just contact me and ask. Got an itchy top lip. I do notice I touch my head and, you know, a bit of a, you know, so it's a good job I didn't get out and about very much during COVID because they kept saying, you know, don't touch your face and everything. But I'm terrible at doing it. And it's not until I watch a video that I realise I do it so much, you know, get a little itch. I've got one there now. Anyway, settle down now. Nice and calm. Let's have a slurp, shall we? Cheers. It's a bit cold. It's my own fault when we're faffing about. Yesterday I looked a little bit less pale, but it's a bit brighter again today, or maybe I'm doing the podcast slightly earlier. Anyway, you're getting used to me looking like I'm sort of, I don't know, washed out, even though I've got darker makeup on. It is what it is. We'll try the curtains out one day that we bought, the net curtains. Now, I'll tell you one thing I might not have done. I might not have had the light on. I've got the light on. Let's see. Makes a difference. Very slightly, I think. Okay. Today we're going to talk about a couple of finished jumpers. Yeah. Progress on something green that I was knitting last time. You might not remember it. It's only been mentioned in the podcast a few times. And some cross stitch progress. My plans for sewing the mouths and my future knitting plans, my immediate future knitting plans. So we're getting to the finished things at the first, and I will put some photographs up as I talk about the jumper. As you know, if you've watched the podcast before, my friends that I went to school with are all 60 in the same year, because we were in the same school year, most of us. And I knitted each of them a gift, whether they wanted it or not. And my friend Michelle, who lives down south, I asked her if she'd like a jumper. And she said yes. So we discussed, I sent her a couple of things, and she decided on the Boxy. And as you know, I started knitting the 4-ply Boxy, and then I changed to the worsted weight and used two strands of 4-ply. And I finished that a few weeks ago, washed it. It got a little bit too stretched on the hem, when it was drying on the line, because I didn't want to overstretch it being a Boxy, because it's already got plenty of ease in it anyway. So I sent it off to her and told her she couldn't open it till her birthday. Now, this she did, and I also sent her the hummingbird cowl that I test knitted for Kerry of Hummingbird Yarns. And she sent me some photographs of her in each of the gifts I sent her. So the Boxy is knit with mainly the yarn that is predominant, I think, is the Jo.Knit.Sew Joshi Green Cheeks, which was a sort of 2 or 3 shades of green and a grey in it. And you can see it does pull differently, obviously, where I've separated for the chest and the lower down. When I'm knitting in the round, that's what I mean. But she said she's pleased with it. And I think she'll wear it because it's warm and she feels the cold easily, and it's something that she can layer underneath. So yeah, I'm pleased with that now. I'm happy that it's gone to its recipient. It fits her because the boxes are very good. It's a very giftable. Is that a new word? I don't want to say that. It's easy to fit to somebody, isn't it? Because of the loose shaping. So yeah, so I've included photographs of her, and then she looks a bit stern on the photograph where she's wearing the cowl. And I think she was trying to pose and see if the photograph looked all right. She's not used to taking selfies. A lot of clothes she wears anyway. So that's the Boxy, and I'm pleased, and it's gone, and that's something else off the needles. And the other thing I've finally finished, and I won't hold it up for too long because it's so bright, is the City Limits. Now, if you remember in the previous episode, I'd said that the neckline, in fact I wore it, didn't I? And it was falling off my shoulders, and I was going to do something about the neckline. So I've unpicked it, and I've done it again. You can see it's fairly neat. And what I've done, I think it was pick up 112 stitches around the neck. So I've reduced that by nearly 20, because I reckoned that was the ease I needed to lose around the neck. And that seems fine now. When I put it on, it just about catches on my nose if I'm not too careful. If Tom's not too careful, if he's helping me get dressed. And but it sits nicely on the neck, so I'm pleased with that, and I will. I'm not going to wash and block it. I probably won't be wearing it now until next winter because it's a thick jumper, so it'll get put into storage, and it may well get washed when I do all my winter woolies in the height of summer. I wash them once a year, whether they need it or not. But sometimes, you see, I might only wear something 2 or 3 times in the winter. And particularly with COVID, I've been wearing the same things, these so-called house jumpers. I've just worn them again and again and again. And so I've not needed to wear a lot of my other knits. In fact, if it wasn't for the podcast, I probably wouldn't have put some of them on at all this winter. So it's nice to get them back on again, because I do enjoy wearing my hand knits, of course. And speaking of which, what am I wearing? Now, I don't think you can see it, so I will put a photograph in if I can see if I've got, sorry, I have got a bruise on the back of my hand where I hit the underside of the drawer that was sticking out in the dark. I sat up in bed. And I don't know why, but I bruise very easily on the back of my hands, but nowhere else. So it's a strange thing that's been happening the last few years. So this is a Carson Jumper by Megan Nodecker of Pip and Pin. It's available on Ravelry. It's a DK weight knit, and I've knitted it in Riverknits BFL, and it's the Cairn colourway. And basically, if I bring it a bit closer to you, you might be able to see, it's got green flecks, it's very, very tonal and speckly with the greys, dark grey, light grey and charcoal and a bit of black, and I love it. It's really, really nice. I do like BFL, you know, I keep going on about it. I much prefer it to merino because I was taking some little tiny pills off this morning because I wore it yesterday because I've done the podcast yesterday. And, you know, there's nothing on it compared to how merino would have been on me. So what you've got, it's a plain, top down, it's crew neck jumper, as you can see. And it's got little knot stitches, which I don't think you can see on here. The texture's not showing up because of the variation in the yarn as well. But you've got a yoke that starts here and it goes further down at the back. And that's the only embellishment really on this jumper. Otherwise it's a fairly plain jumper. But when I was wearing this yesterday, Tom went, oh, that he was going to flick it off me. This is a Bumblebee embroidered brooch. Can you see that? So it's a white-tailed bumblebee. I'm a member of the Bumblebee Conservation Trust. And Mum bought me this for my birthday a couple of years ago. And it's gorgeous. It's absolutely exquisite. It's handmade. One of my hairs again. I'm leaking hairs. I think that's a post-menopausal thing, isn't it? To leak hairs. Yeah, but it's gorgeous. It's a bit bigger than life size. And very lightweight. And I've got a couple of brooches. Well, I've got about 3 or 4 brooches, but I don't wear them very often because if I'm driving in the car, the seat bar's going across me. And if I'm out, you know, going out for a meal with the girls or something, then I've got a crossbody bag on me. So it's nice to be able to put my brooch on. Now, I bought this at a local gallery in Worcester, which has since closed, but their main branch is in Malvern, right at the top of the town in Malvern, and called the Iapetus. Anyway, I'll put a link down below. And this lady's called Vikki Lafford Garside, and she does the most beautiful embroidered. She does earrings as well, but I don't think with my hair being as it is, that I'd want to wear the earrings. Or she does bumblebee earrings, I've noticed. But she's got the most exquisite butterfly brooches as well. Mainly British butterflies, and they're gorgeous. And, you know, they're not that expensive really, considering the work that she must put into them. So yeah, so that's my little bumblebee brooch. And I'll put some better photographs of it while I've been talking to you about it. So that's what I'm wearing today. Okay, let's get on to the elephant in the room. You know what I'm talking about. I'm talking about Swamp Monster. And I've had such gorgeous comments, lovely comments from people saying how much they like this yarn. It is blowing out a bit, but not very much. It is a lovely green. It's a lovely, lovely, luscious green. I'm not going to go through all of it. You've been through it all with me. You've been there. You've supported me. Anybody think, you know, that I don't know how to read a pattern, I don't know how to do a gauge swatch, etc. Because I didn't do a gauge swatch, and it's my own fault. But as you know, I started knitting a jumper, and I did various versions of the back, doing different, using different size needles. And then I decided the raglan was too long, so I did it again. And then I did the 2 fronts thinking I was happy. And I started doing the sleeves, and I had 130 grams left. And I thought, oh, that'll be enough. Because I'm only doing short sleeves. They're only going to be about 3 inches long. And it's a V-neck. So each front had taken just under 100 grams. But as I was getting up onto the raglan of the sleeve, and I'd worked out that the raglan was only a little bit too long, really. But I like plenty of room because I can't lift my arms to be able to get in and out of things anyway. So I thought, that's going to be fine. But I was getting near the end of the raglan on the first sleeve, and I weighed it, and I weighed what I had left, and I wasn't going to do it. I wasn't going to be able to have enough for anything like even a thin front band. And I wanted a front band that was of the right proportion. And I did think about putting another colour on there, as somebody suggested on I post on Instagram on Friday. But really, because of the sort of thing I want to wear it with that might have patterns in it, I didn't want to introduce another colour, and I don't think I've got anything near enough to make it look right. You know what I mean? I think if I'd used a dark colour, which I haven't got, like so, like you know, take the black or the bottle green out of here, which got tiny hints of, then I don't think that would have looked right. Not for me anyway. So I was thinking, I don't want to give up on the yarn because I've got the yarn out of stash and I want to use it. I'm not giving up on the yarn. And I have to say, even though I've been working this yarn to bits, yeah, I shouldn't say that. I've been working it, you know, really, really hard, knitting it up and undoing it, knitting it up and undoing it, another hair. It's stood up to it really well. It's not lost its twist, you know, or its bounce, and I'm very impressed with it. And then it suddenly occurred to me, literally, that put that down. In this book that I was using, which is the Family Knit book, which is discontinued, but on the back, if you can see there and there, right, that's a button-up vest jerkin thing, and that's a pullover, sleeveless pullover. They haven't got raglan shaping. No, they've got no sleeves. I don't knit them. I must have enough in 500 grams to knit myself a nice boxy pullover, literally. So that's what I'm doing now. I've cast on again. I've cast on the largest size. I've done a swatch. I have done a swatch, right, and I've worked out how wide it's going to be, and it's going to be quite wide. When I knitted the back of the cardigan, I did it on a 4.5 needle, thinking it would, you know, make the yarn go a bit further. And I was telling Tom that I was going to run out of yarn. I would have to undo it again. And he got the back, and he held it up against my back. Just, you know, didn't pull it or anything. So armhole to armhole, and it was about 8 or 9 inches too wide for me. You know, and it was massive. And that wasn't even the biggest size. And I know I knit loose, but I don't knit that loose, not on circulars anymore. I used to knit a bit loose on straights, I think. Anyway, so it had to be undone because it wasn't the look I was going for. I was looking for something that was semi-fitted, really, in my cardigan. And I wanted to do something different to a cardigan. So I'm now knitting a sleeveless vest. I've cast on again. I've done 2x2 rib and a row of knit on the right side, on the wrong side, and then in the middle, just to see what it looks like. This is the back, which, you know, obviously doesn't get shown up on me in the wheelchair, but I've just done slip stitch because I wanted to see what it would look like, because I want to do something on the centre front, and I might do that again with another slip stitch, so it's slightly wider on the front. But you can't see it very well, but it is noticeable if you know what I mean. So I don't. Sometimes it's not worth putting a lot of effort into a pattern if you're not going to be able to see it on variegated yarn. So, you know, there we go. Wish me luck. I'm going to stick to that. That's going to be my evening knitting from now on. I like to have something on the needles for daytime and something on the needles for the evening. And I'll tell you about my knitting plans going forward in a bit. Keep my eye on the time. Nearly at 20 minutes. Okay, so that's where I'm up to with everything, the finishes and what I'm doing with Swamp Monster. Still in love with the yarn. Absolutely adore it. Would recommend it to anybody who wants to... sorry about this. I've got such a little amount of space to play with it. I'll try not to throw anything on the floor. Okay, now, the next thing I want to show you is my cross stitch. Now, I've showed this a little while ago. I don't know how many episodes back, but this is the pattern, the chart kit that I've got, which is the Celtic Cross, and it's on 14 count Ada, with anchor threads, and it was bought for me by my cousin Sharon a few years ago, more than 10 years ago. And I'm just here, started in the middle, which I think most newbies, they tell you to start in the middle. Now, I was doing this on, as per the instructions, I was doing it with 3 strands of thread, excuse me. But I felt it was a bit hard going, even though I'm no expert with cross stitch, you know. I'm not even a beginner. You know, I've got no experience really. So I started again on, I bought some gridded, you can see that, look, some gridded Ada, 14 count Ada, and I've started again. So that's the right way up, and I'm doing, put it a bit closer to you. I'm presuming that's focused because I can't see through it. I'm doing 2 or 3 strands of thread a day at the moment, and I'll probably do a little bit more when I'm sat outside when the weather's a bit warmer and brighter. But I have to wear me readers to do it because I've got some 3s here, and I have to wear me readers to work on it, especially if I do it a bit later in the day when I'm a bit more tired, because I struggle to see it, you know. So that's my cross stitch. I'll put the links down below. I've ordered some more thread of the ones I'd already used, but I'm going to unpick that, and I've got Ada then to use for something different. Although I can't see myself doing anything other than kits, because I'm just playing it, you know, there's going to only be no such thing as going, you know, free and easy with cross stitch with me. I'm strictly sticking to instructions. So that's my cross stitch. And then, so if we move on to sewing, I haven't done any sewing. I do want to make a bag. I was watching Debbie Shaw the other day, and she made a padded pouch, you know, like a box pouch with a zip along the top, and it looks so easy to do. And she actually hand sewed the lining in. And I thought, oh, I'm going to have a go at that, because I've not done that particular shape before. I've only done flat ones, and I'm not vegan. I haven't mastered the box bottom, and I need to get my head around that. I haven't been accurate enough when I've been doing it. But, excuse me, on Sunday I went to see my mum, and I said to her, I want to start doing some sewing, because I've got all these patterns. I've got about 5 or 6 patterns, and I want to start matching it up to some material, fabric, and she's got loads and loads of fabric. You know, I've got a lovely, under the bed, a lovely dormer quilt cover that won't fit our bed anymore, because we've got a Super King on the bed, and this is a double, I think. So I should be using it really to make, because it's cotton, I should be using it to make a twirl or a muslin. Anyway, so what I did yesterday is I drew out some of my, just made some very bad sketches of some of the patterns that I've got. For instance, that's the cup of tea by Jack's mum, and I've just written down how many meters I need of each one, so I don't have to keep looking it up. And the one I really want to make, so that'd be jersey because it's a t-shirt, but the one I really want to make is a gelato top by Liesl and Co, and that is it's got the flutter sleeves and the flounce at the bottom as well. I've made the Gilbert top already. In fact, I need to wear it actually, getting to be the weather. I made that with Mum last year. Apologies for my appalling drawing. But this is the indigo, which is a very popular Tilly and the Buttons pattern. And it's quite similar to the gelato in its shape with the flounce on it and everything. But I think the gelato's got a more pronounced flounce on the bottom of it. So my plans are to have a go at a t-shirt using my sewing machine, because I can't use an overlocker because they've only got treadles. Now, I would like to know, I think it's because you have to guide the material through, having not used an overlocker. Mum's got one, but she's a bit, not scared of it, but she's not used it enough to be confident with what she needs to do with it. And I don't want to have a go with it. Well, I can't, because you know, my feet don't reach the floor, so I'm not driving that. And I can't see us doing brake, accelerate job on it. Because it cuts, it goes along, doesn't it? So, yeah, I will. She said she'd cut it out. If I took the fabric up to her and the pattern, she'd cut me a t-shirt out and I can bring it back here and I can sew it. I want to have a go on my own because my mum's an excellent seamstress, aren't you, Mother? Not that she ever makes anything for herself. But I think it'd be so easy for me to say, can you do this bit, Mum? Can you do this bit, you know? I mean, how old am I? I'm 60. I should be making my own clothes. Mad, isn't it? I'll tell you one thing I'd really like to do. Make my own knickers. And I don't think that can be too difficult. I just need a large piece of stretchy cloth. Marks and Spencer's, be aware. I might not be buying any knickers from you this time next year. Be warned, your profits will go down. Anyway, enough of that silliness, son. Okay, right. Let's talk now about. I haven't bought anything. I've bought some little bits and pieces for me cross stitch, but I'm waiting for them to come. I've ordered some yarn, but will, you know, a bit like Annie says, confessions. I feel quite bad about it, so I'll show it you when it comes very quickly. Hide it again so I don't have to look at it. We'll see. Yeah, I'll go wait for that. That's coming quite soon, hopefully next couple of weeks. Let's talk about future plans for knitting now. I've found I like to have two lots of projects on the go. Let me stop, actually, before I start talking to you about that. Let me stop this. Look. I don't know whether with the light, perhaps the sun's gone a bit further along. I'll stop you and I'll see you again in a minute. Right, back again. Hello. Part 2. Yeah, knitting plans. Because of what's happened with the green cardigan, I've decided I need to be a bit more decisive, just a bit, and constructive with what I want to make. And I keep thinking, well, I could order this yarn, I could order that yarn. No, you've got enough, and you know, it doesn't matter if you don't think you've got enough yarn to make a garment. You find a pattern that will fit what you've got, and there you've been told, Anne. So first of all, I've got this gorgeous, I don't know if I've shown this on the thing before, but this, and that looks very, very grey. This is a pale green, like an almond green, I would say. Looks like the right tone, but it's nothing like, it's more green than that. Of course it's green, it's mine. And this is called Light Nettle. And it's by Nellie and Eve in Wales. And I had 400 grams for my birthday. I chose it. It's 4-ply, and guess what? It's BFL. 75% BFL, 25% Gotland. 350 metres. So it's not a sport weight anywhere near, but you know it's a heavy 4-ply. So I've got 4 of these, and of course now after the thing I'm panicking a bit. I bought this particularly for a Sari Norland jumper pattern. Can't remember which one I found. I should have looked at that. And in theory I've got enough yarn, but I don't think I have. Anyway. So instead I'm going to make a ranunculus, because I haven't got one, and everybody else has got one in the whole world, haven't you? How many have you got? How many have you got, Penny? Penny's got about 25, something like that. And I've printed out the modifications for doing the very, very largest size, because then I'll have, you know, a decent amount of these. And I'm going to see, I will swatch, I think, because what I did with the Love Note is I did a bigger size, but I did it on a one size smaller needle, and that worked perfectly for me. And I'm wondering whether to do that with this, because I want to use up as much of it as I can. And I think because of the light colour and the texture of the yarn, it will show the lace up around the yoke on the ranunculus very well. That's my plan. So that's plan A for some yarn. And the other thing I've got is, I'll hold it with these so you don't see it. I've got some of this, which is Skyfling DK by Triskelion Yarns. Okay, and guess what? It's 75% BFL and 25% Gotland, so it's exactly the same mix. It says it's. Did it say superwash? Neither of them say superwash actually. So I don't know if they are. They might not be. I hand wash my knits anyway, so it shouldn't make a difference to me. This is Proud Answer, and I've had this probably about 4 years, and I bought it with the view of knitting myself a cardigan. I've got 6 of these, and that should be plenty, shouldn't it? Because, you know, I had 4 of the other one. Got 6, yeah. Got 6 of this grey. It's coming out darker than it is. It is, but it's similar. It's like it's a grey, but it's like almost like a tealy grey, a bluey greeny grey. Very nice. But I also, when I bought 6 of these, I thought, oh, I need more than that. I bought that as well. And you were saying, but Anne, surely, isn't that very, 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 very similar to Swamp Monster? Oh, yes, it is. It hasn't got the, yeah, this is a solid, semi-solid. It's got a bit of light and dark in it, tiny bit, but, you know, I mean, look at the density of the shade, very, very similar. It definitely suits me though, definitely suits me. And I put this in because I thought about doing something with a bit of a trim on it. Although then my mum says, well, it can narrow down what you wear with it, but I don't think it does if it's only a little bit. So I might do the very edges with that, but I'm going to see. I haven't decided on a pattern for these two, but mainly, I mean, I don't mind if I only use the grey. I'm looking at the Macaulay because then I could do that. But people are saying that the arms are very long, so I'd have to adjust those. And that's a free pattern by Katie Green when she worked for Blacker Yarns. So it's a blacker pattern. So I've just started looking at DK. There's plenty to choose from. I've got plenty. It might be an Emma Vining cardigan because I love Emma's architectural sort of vibe. She's a British designer and I like nearly everything she does. So that's going to be something as well. So those are my immediate plans. I might start on the ranunculus because apparently it's a quick win. I need a quick win after all the Swamp Monster palaver. My own fault. It's totally my own fault. Okay. So that's all the knitting. Let's just talk a little bit about the mouths. I have created a Ravelry group. I will put links in the description bar below, along with the hashtags if you can't use Ravelry. I'm aware that with a sort of blackout or strike, voluntary strike blackout on Ravelry over the weekend until today, and I don't know when it's supposed to end, what time it has, but I've been on Ravelry this morning because I was looking for the patterns for these yarns. Although I have every sympathy, particularly with designers, really, who have had their business affected by the accessibility issues, I'm a bit of a bliss in here. I'm rather hoping that the dark mode they've brought out suits a lot of people that have previously not been able to use the very bright light site that they've created. I mean, even I thought it was quite light when I first went on it, and I don't have any issues that way, I'm not aware of anyway. I use the Herdwick usually, which is slightly greyer in appearance, and I'm fine with that. But I do like the new site because, especially the mobile version, it's so much easier to use than the old one, and I can see where they've put a lot of effort into improving access on things. So I will still be using Ravelry, and I'll use it because it's a user-led database. And having worked with databases all my working life, we've developed several versions of our in-house database. We looked after properties for the council that the council owned, and I worked on the maintenance side of things for many years. And as part of that, we would use it for placing orders and contracts from very small day work orders to replace a light switch, to great big ones of building a new school. And our system coped with all that because we spec'd it ourselves. And Ravelry is a user-led database, and you can't beat them, I don't think. We tried stuff off the shelf and it never worked, and you pay a fortune for somebody to do that work for you. I'm a big fan of in-house developed databases, and Ravelry is useful to us all, those of us that can use it, because of that, because people have asked for things and they've added it in gradually over the years. And I've personally put a lot of effort into putting my stash on there and my projects, taking terrible photographs, I know, but well, they're not terrible, but they're not brilliant photographs. But it's my way of keeping my stash up to date, and I record where I keep it as well in all my various numbered IKEA bags in the loft. But also, you can talk to each other on Ravelry, and you don't get that on any of the other platforms at the moment. And it was interesting, I was watching Sari Norland from Finland, isn't she, last night, and she was saying that she was aware of the strike on Ravelry, and people were saying to her, do you have any alternative access to your patterns? And she's saying, yeah, they'll be available on my website, but my website's under development, and we couldn't put a shop platform on the development that we were working on. And she was saying that other platforms that she is looking into are, they don't always suit the way she wants to work. For instance, she's got she likes to put her charts in a separate PDF to her pattern so that people can access them easier. And that would seem a good idea, you just have 1 page of charts or 2 pages of charts or whatever, instead of having to go through the whole pattern. But somewhere like Lovecraft at the moment doesn't allow you to do that. And you don't get the interaction. I mean, on Ravelry you can message the designer with any queries you might have, and whether often groups or that forums for a particular design where people have come across not errors but issues, or they want to make changes, and other people have helped them out. So I do really hope that Ravelry get their act together and get things sorted for everybody. I don't like the fact that it put sort of bad feeling into our community, really. So I'm a bit of a bliss ninny. So anyway, so the males are on there. I've set up 2 threads, and I've also put an Ask Me a Question thread on there. If you want to ask me anything, and I will give the answer on there, but I can also talk about the questions if you give me any on here as well. So we've got two males running. The seasonal male is going to run from the 1st of April, last week, to the end of the year, and it's going to be spring, summer, autumn, and we're in spring at the moment. And the idea behind it is that you make something, and it can be anything from metalwork to knitting, crochet. There's no size limit or anything, because it's my first male or males, and I want the more the merrier, really. I'd like you to be able to tie it back to the season that we are in, but it's not obligatory. I mean, if you can put even a tenuous link in there. I've made this, and it's pastel colours. The name of the thing's got something to do with flowers or blossom, the weather. And if you're in the southern hemisphere, you might say, well, actually, I'm going to put it into spring one, but spring's going to be, well, it'll be winter, won't it? Yeah, their spring will be our autumn. So you know, I'm going to be fairly lax on the rules. Like I said last time, I don't expect a single dishcloth, but if that's all you can do, that's all you can do, you know. If you've got limitations that stop you from making loads and loads of things, I don't expect loads and loads of things on there. Anyway, join in if you can, if you want to. And the second one is, I meant to say about the seasonal mail, sorry, before I move off it. There will be a prize at the end of each season, and then there'll be a grand draw at the end of the year. And you'll get one dip into the grand draw for every season that you've put into, regardless of how many times you entered for each season. Okay? And then the second one is very snubbly named Stash or Shelf. I did think when I was driving back from my mum's on Sunday, oh, it could be called something like, what was it? Use what you've got. Use what you own. But anyway, I've put it on there now. I'm not going to change it. So the Stash or Shelf, and I saw Sue had put, Sue Godfrey put a reference to it on her Instagram post this morning. Thank you very much, Sue. Lovely jumper. Sue's made a, oh grief, Sue, what have you done? Whitmore by Amy Loudon sweater. Lovely lilac colour. Beautiful. And she's going to enter that into the mail. And the idea behind it is you're using stash that you've had longer than 6 months, or you're using a pattern that you've not used before. Preferably something that you know, a book that you've, for me, I'm thinking about me now. I've had books and I've got patterns off Ravelry, you know, I've downloaded them, I've not used them. Let's get using something I've not knitted before, and perhaps one of the books. In fact, I should look at the books that I've got for my skyfling yarn, because I've got the knit the top down sweater in 2 weeks, and I've got a couple of DK cardigans in there that I'd quite like, so I might have a look in there. It's all a question of whether the sizing's right for me, or whether the style would suit me, being short and wide. You know, I don't want anything that's going to be too bulky at the front or too long, although you can alter the length. Anyway, so yes, so those are the mals. The stash or shelf mal will run from now till the end of August, I think I've put. So yeah, and there will be prizes, and there will be a wonky bag. It might not be so wonky if I keep practicing. So there you go. Give me the dog. I think he's saying, come on, Anne, you've talked enough. So I think that is everything, and I think I've made a better job of it today because I've put notes down, and I've still yattered, haven't I? Any questions? Give me a shout. Thank you for all the lovely responses I've had so far. I'm really enjoying podcasting. I look forward to doing it. And my husband's idea just before I recorded was, put a sneaky peek of what you might talk about next week, Anne. So there's a jumper on the back of the door, and I shall wear it, unless it's really hot. I shall be wearing that next week. It's a boxy, it's a V-neck boxy. I shall tell you no more. You'll have to watch and see. I hope you had a lovely Easter, whatever you did, whether you celebrate, or whether you just eat chocolate like I did, use it as an excuse, or you took the opportunity to get out and about and go for a walk because the weather anyway was nice. I think for most people, whatever you did, I hope you had a nice break if you could get one. And we're moving quickly in, through spring now, and I love it. I really do like it. It helps my bones no end. So I shall love you and leave you. Get in touch if you want to. I'm always good for a chat, and I will speak to you very soon. Ta-ra for now. Bye.